Hello and welcome to 2018. We hope you're having a great new year. Got a fun one in this non-conference matchup between the home UMass Boston Beacons and the visiting Regis College Pride. These are two teams with very different strengths and very different weaknesses. We'll see strength versus weakness, weakness versus strength today. And one of these teams is going to walk out with a win in their first game of 2018. Right now we'll take a commercial break and then we'll be back with a look at our player to watch and the all-time series between these two Massachusetts sides.
The 5-campus UMass system is the university that educates the workforce of Massachusetts. We recognize that we are truly here for a reason, and that recognition inspires us and drives us every single day.
Take a look right now at the all-time series. There's not much to tell. Just the one game last year at Regis, the first game after the break. It was Regis starting an 80-73 win. The Beacons came back to force overtime. They were down by 4 in the final minute. Forced overtime, had a chance to win it at the buzzer. Ty Lee couldn't hit a shot, and then it was Regis earning their biggest lead of the game at the end of the game. A 7-point win for the Pride. For UMass Boston, they're back and they're healthy. After playing with just 7 or 8 rotation players at the end of first semester, they'll have at least 10 healthy rotation players. They might go as deep as 12 today. One of the guys back, Kevin Lewis-Jean, started each of the first 6 games this year as the Beacons starting center. After missing a couple of games with a head injury, he's back. Leads the entire Little East Conference with a 69.2% field goal percentage. And he's one of the few Beacons who's nearly as tall as this Regis roster. Regis has 8 players who stand at 6'4" or bigger. Kevin Lewis-Jean at 6'3" is one of the 3 tallest Beacons on the roster. We'll see what Kevin can do. He's been very good at home, averaging 10 points and 3 rebounds a game. Right now we'll take a look at an interview with head coach Jason Harris I had a couple hours before game time.
Joined by head coach Jason Harris. Coach, a couple of weeks off. You guys were pretty banged up going into the break. How have these first couple of practices been since the guys got back on the 26th?
I think the first week's probably been pretty consistent like everybody else around the country. You know, the first 2 days filled with a lot of enthusiasm and energy, and by the 4th or 5th day, it's like, you know, guys are just trying to grind it out and make it through.
At the end of first semester, you had quite a few rotation players gone. You've got a couple of those guys back. What could Charlie Mitchell coming back, Kevin Lewis-Jean, even the potential return of Dan Powers mean to this team tonight and with 3 games this week?
You know, I think anytime you can add depth, it helps. You know, just the season is so long, conference is so physical and so grueling. You know, like you said, to have had maybe 2 weeks off and then to have 3 games in 5 days, you know, it's going to be tough. So anytime we can add a couple more bodies to that, it'll help. You know, Charlie will help shore up the guard position, and then Dan and Kevin getting both of those guys back. You know, both their physicality and their ability to rebound and, you know, give us a little bit of an interior presence that should help us as well.
That rebounding interior presence, you're playing not only 3 very talented teams this week, but 3 teams who are pretty big. We've already seen Bridgewater this year. Regis is big, and Eastern Connecticut always has size. What's your goal this week in terms of not just maybe in W's and losses, but in terms of getting back and getting off to a good start against 3 quality opponents?
Obviously our goal is to go 3-0. As a competitor, as a coach, I think that's probably what everybody in the locker room's goal is to do as well. But at the same time, it's to quickly get back to what got us those 6 wins in the first semester, and then quickly remember what got us those 5 losses and not trend that way. So I think it's important that, you know, we do the long-term goal here. We have a little bit of a long-term vision, but, you know, at the end of the day, man, it's trying to win 3 games, Seth.
Thanks so much for your time, Coach.
And welcome back up into the press box for the first time today. My name is Seth Dorensky, joined by Gigi Braga. And right now, as we take a look at the team statistics, there's one thing that'll jump out at you, Gigi, and it's how good of a rebounding team that Regis is and how important it is today for UMass Boston to force turnovers against a team that has struggled all year long in the turnover battle.
I mean, this Regis team that is playing here tonight, they have 7 or 8 players that are above 6'5". They are a rebounding machine, something that the Beacons are definitely going to have to tackle today. And the Regis Pride is going to have to manage their turnovers. The Beacons are known for being a good team that forces turnover, something that the Pride struggles with. So it's definitely going to be a battle of weaknesses and strengths, as you said.
Just looking at it from a statistical margin, there's 416 teams in Division III. Regis sits 392nd. That's 24th worst in the country in terms of turnover margin. But in terms of the Beacon's weaknesses, they're 28th in the country in terms of rebounding margin, or 28th worst in the country in rebounding margin at minus 7.7. On the other side, Regis 26th in the country with their 8.1 rebounding margin per game. The Beacons 28th in the country in turnover margin. So we talk about strengths and weaknesses. That'll be fun to watch. Taking a look at the team leaders, neither of these teams really relies on a go-to scorer. Both teams run pretty deep, and they rely on a number of players. For UMass Boston, you see a lot of freshmen up there. And for Regis, we're looking for a balanced attack out of a Pride side that brings a lot of guys back from last year's team.
And a big thing that the Pride have is they don't have many Massachusetts natives. They only have one guy that's from Dorchester. Most of their other players are from Florida, New York, Connecticut. They do a good job of recruiting nationwide, where this Beacons team is all Massachusetts native. So definitely something to see how they play out in that way.
Regis, a very small private school out of Weston, Massachusetts. For UMass Boston, well, they're right out of Dorchester, Mass, and they'll see a very talented player out of Dorchester, a guy that Jason Harris probably would have liked to have had here, Jordan Selden. He went to Everett High School just outside the city, but a very talented player who might be in the starting lineup today. We're still waiting on the Regis starters. Taking a look at the head coaches for these two sides, it'll start with the only head coach in Regis history. That's Nate Hager in his 11th year. They won the NECC championship back in 2014-2015, and while he's in his 11th year, this is the third different conference Regis has played in. They started in the Commonwealth Coast Conference, then they moved to the New England Collegiate Conference, and this year, their first year in the 11-team Great Northeast Athletic Conference, they were picked 6th out of 11 teams. On the other side, it's Jason Harris. He's the man in the middle between two of his assistant coaches. Harris, in his third season, has the Beacons at or above 500 coming out of the break for the third straight year. Harris led the Beacons to their first playoff win since 2006 last season. Beacons were picked 4th in the Little East Conference, 1-1 thus far. They'll get back into conference play starting on Saturday. So the Beacons are going to face a ton of tough competition, a ton of games away from home this month. Beacons, after today, where they've been very good, are going to be on the road in 5 of their next 6 games. Regis this year has struggled, 0-4 on the road. 2 losses by 2 points, including a tough one on Sunday against Trinity College, the host of the Trinity Invitational, played over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday. And then a pair of losses by 20 points or more, including a 30-point loss to GNAC preseason favorite Albertus Magnus. We'll take a commercial break. We'll be back with the starters and our keys to the game right here on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
Paris changed my life, and I got there through UMass. Those very specific seminal moments in Paris, the subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in, and a woman in a long gown. And it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty and style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. That's one of those moments you never forget.
And welcome back. Before we get to the national anthem, let's bring you the starters for first the Regis College Pride, one of 6 schools in the country at the NCAA level with the nickname Pride. You're familiar with probably a few of them: Springfield College, Hofstra College, but also a couple fun ones. Greensboro College down in North Carolina, a Division III school, Widener College in Pennsylvania, and Purdue University Southwest, Division II side in Indiana. We'll take a break, and then we'll bring you the Beacon starters and our keys to the game.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a teaching soul.
Right now, we'll take a little bit more in-depth look at this Regis College starting lineup. And Gigi, when you look at this side, we talk about the size, but it all starts with the man in the middle, Ademola Afanja, leading scorer from a year ago and leading rebounder. He's dropped off a little bit in the scoring department, but he is such not only a tremendous player, but he's a huge athlete. And in talking to Jason Harris, looking at the scout, he's the guy the Beacons are constantly going to have to keep a body on if they're going to be even close to keeping it close in the rebounding battle.
Yeah, Ademola is just an athletic beast. He gets everywhere. He can score. He can rebound. The Beacons are definitely going to be looking for Kevin Lewis-Jean to kind of keep him off of the scoring side a little bit. We're definitely going to see a little bit of a battle there. Definitely something that the Beacons, that's probably going to be the Beacons' biggest battle tonight, is containing Afanja to as minimum points and as minimum rebounds, especially, as they possibly can.
And it won't just be Kevin Lewis-Jean. We'll probably see some Dan Powers and some Jake Smith, who's going to stay in the rotation along with James Hawkins. Beacons get a little bit bigger coming out of break. Certainly should help a team that was towards the bottom of the nation in rebounding. Take a look right now at the Beacon starters. Dan Powers, not one of the guys you'll see because we don't have a player bio video for him yet, but the other four are.
James Hawkins, senior forward from West Medford, Massachusetts.
Charles Mitchell, shooting guard, freshman, Roxbury, Mass.
Dason Sinelli, sophomore guard / forward, Boston, Massachusetts.
Michael Boyd, freshman, guard, Malden, Mass.
Welcome back. You see UMass Boston, the home whites with the blue numbers and blue trim going from left to right. Regis in the maroon unis with the gold stripes and white trim around the letters and numbers. It'll be Dason Sinelli winning the tap back to Charles Mitchell. The Beacons go with 2 freshmen, a sophomore, and 2 seniors. One of the best things about bringing back Dan Powers is he's a very versatile player, and he's a senior. Had just one semester of eligibility left for UMass Boston. The Beacons get him back for the stretch run. They'll have 12 of their 14 conference games here in second semester. Mike Boyd, hard drive to the hoop, can't convert, and it's an easy rebound for Juwan Lewis, the senior out of Jacksonville, stands at 6'7". 3 in transition, no good, but the offensive rebound, and who else? It's Ademola Afanja, with an early bucket.
And that's something that the Pride love, that transition period. That's something the Beacons are definitely going to have to work on and minimize that.
Big part of that is making their shots, as UMass Boston crashed hard on the offensive boards, unable to grab it. Powers, who can shoot from that distance, was an all-conference player a year ago, and the Beacons' leading rebounder. Deep threes, well off the mark, but Dason Sinelli clears up the trash, and we're even at 2 a minute in.
And that's something you don't see very often, is the Pride kind of letting Sinelli get a free rebound out of that.
Tim Broom draws a foul on the floor. Broom, the junior Division I transfer out of the Citadel, playing his first year with Regis College, as Mike Boyd will pick up his first and the first foul on the Beacons.
Something the Beacons are definitely going to have to minimize are their fouls, because the Pride don't foul that often.
Just 5th fewest fouls in the entire country, as that 3 is off the mark from the team's top 3-point shooter, Roger Hamill. And Charles Mitchell can't hit it, but there's Dan Powers. Stands at just 6'3", but he's a guy who can get up and he uses his body well on the boards. Mitchell over Sinelli, drives baseline, gets around a player but can't convert. And the rebound falls to Juwan Lewis. Stolen away by Michael Boyd. He can't finish. Charles Mitchell nearly has the rebound. Juwan Lewis already has 3 defensive boards in the first minute 30.
Definitely something to look at are the Beacons guards playing against the Pride's big man. 6'5", it's very hard to handle the ball when you get a guard small like the Beacons. Very easy for them to. Beacons
unable to slow down Jordan Selden there, the Dorchester native, who was able to carve out a spot on the block and finished over Sinelli. 4-2 in favor of the Pride. Dan Powers is called for the travel. One big thing to watch is Dan's conditioning. Unable to practice with the team all fall semester, so he had to work out himself. And he's been able to practice the last couple days with UMass Boston, a guy who just means so much to this team.
Yeah, when we were a guy who's probably Dan's age, like 22, 23 years old.
Oh, he's a little bit older than that. He's not your traditional senior. Being out of playing basketball for about a month or 2 even, that can get you really out of shape. Powers, a player who started his career at Endicott College, took a couple of years off, and is now in his 3rd year with the Beacons as the ball drops to the floor, and it's Powers picking it up. Finds Sinelli, the first turnover on Regis. Sinelli will have to slow it down. Regis had numbers back. Powers all the way to the hoop. Draws some contact, not enough for a foul. Hawkins tries to grab the rebound, and it'll be off the hands of Hamill, staying with the Beacons with 17:27 to go in the half.
And there you see, Powers trying to get into that transition. So a couple steps late there. You kind of wonder if you can get a little bit faster as the season progresses.
Powers last year, 11.8 points per game, second on the Beacons, 11 rebounds per game, third in the conference, first on the Beacons. And he shot the ball 35% from distance. Beacons turnover, chance to go the other way. It looked like there was a bit of a shoulder shove there, and it ends up with Afanja's second offensive rebound and second easy putback. Nice move there from Broom, who's shown he's been able to get to the hoop. Powers from straight away, gets a little bit of a screen from Hawkins, but underthrows the pass. Now ahead, it's Afanja, 3 of 3 from in tight. Pushes the lead out to 8-2 in favor of Regis.
When you get a guy like Afonso who's 6'5" against, Charles Mitchell, who's probably 5'8", 5'10" on a good day, that's just a mismatch the Beacons don't want.
Beacons with 2 players, now 3 at the scorer's table. Regis sends their first over. Charles Mitchell from the near wing drains it. His first points of 2018 came in with a team high 14.3 points per game. Putting a lot of pressure there on Broom. Broom runs into Powers, and Powers is going to be called for the block there. His first, team second.
The good thing about the Beacons, at least for this game, is unlike their last game in 2017 where they only had 2 big men. Now in 2018, we got Dan Powers back, Kevin Lewis-Jean is back to add in with Jake Smith and James Hawkins. The Beacons can give up a couple of fouls to their big men because they do have some guys to come off the bench.
And they can match up with the big men of Regis. Regis has 8 guys at 6'4" or bigger, so you could see a little bit of fatigue. So we've got a stoppage. One of our referees, I think, is going to go over and talk about the shot clock. We might see a reset there. Our 3-man crew for tonight's contest: Anastasio Daskalakis, Casey Kett, and Dale Allen. Ball controlled by Hamill, the Fisher College native in his first year with Regis. Dishes across for Tim Broom, who's been very good as of late. 19 points on Sunday against Trinity in a 2-point overtime loss. He shot 3 of 5 from distance in that one. He's already got a couple points in this first half.
If anyone didn't see that was an NBA 3 that Broom just took, and Dan Powers matches it with that one.
Powers is a very good 3-point shooter. Should help a Beacons team that's actually not shot all that well for a team that is so small. You'd expect a team with a lot of guards would shoot well, but the Beacons towards the bottom of the nation in field goal percentage. Makes it a 3-point game with Broom being badgered here by Charles Mitchell. Broom gets a screen up top from Afanja, who will fake it and then give it up. Not really his distance. Wiederburn is off the mark, and Ty Lee just into the game. Gets away with a carry there in transition. Finds Kevin Lewis-Jean, who can shoot from that distance, and the Beacons have cut it back to a 1-point game.
If the Pride don't keep a body on Lewis-Jean, he'll hit that shot all day.
He's very good with the jump shot from as far out as the 3-point line. The Beacons with a couple of substitutions, Boyd, Sinelli, and Hawkins to the bench. In for them, Kevin Lewis-Jean, Iser Barnes, and Ty Lee. Answering the call, it's Broom. Tim Broom is off to a phenomenal start. The junior transfer out of Sandalwood High School came in averaging just 9.3 points per game. He's probably already within a point or 2 of that, as Ty Lee had to slow it up with Charles Mitchell, his former high school teammate, tying his shoe. Barnes up top with Lewis-Jean calling for it in the near block. He's given up a couple inches there, and it's kicked away by Hamill with 9 on the shot clock. That should push the shot clock back up to 20, and it will.
Something to take a look at. Tim Broom stands at 6'2", as one of the Pride's better guards, and the Beacons guards, their tallest guards are 5'10", and that's 4 inches right there that your guards are getting up on you. So it's not only your bigs that are tall, you got height from everyone on their roster.
We're going to take a media timeout along with the teams. The Beacons down 3 with 14:41 to go in the first half.
Paris changed my life, and I got there through UMass. Those very specific seminal moments in Paris, the subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in, and a woman in a long gown. And it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty and style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. It's one of those moments you never forget.
14:41 to go in the first half. UMass Boston playing their first game in 19 days. Regis College playing their third game in 4 days. Gigi, you're a Division III athlete in both soccer and softball. What do you think is harder? Playing with tired legs or maybe having all that rust that then you're probably going to end up with fatigue later in the game no matter what?
I would say playing with all that rust. You know, a bunch of games are all about repetition and getting reps in and just, you know, getting a notion for the game and staying for that many days, you know, especially with the holidays. You're probably eating a lot during Christmas, New Year's, all that kind of stuff. Definitely the rust. You know, this first half is going to be something for the Beacons to get that out of their system.
Regis was at Trinity College down in Connecticut over the weekend. They earned a win over Westfield on Saturday before falling in overtime against Trinity, the hosts, on Sunday by 2. Kevin Lewis-Jean looking to go 2 for 2 in 2018. A little bit off the mark on that one, and a strong rebound from Wiedeburn. Stands at 6'6", 210. This Regis team, well, Beacons and Regis could probably use a trade with some of their guards for forwards. Regis has forwards in excess. Guys on their bench at 6'4", 6'5", who don't see much time. The Beacons has some very talented guards struggling to get into the rotation, but no trades allowed in the college level, at least not true one-for-one trades.
We just saw Iser Barnes there. Might have gotten away a little bit with the hack there.
That ball's thrown over the head of Roger Hamill, but the Beacons give it right back in transition. Unable to make the catch was Jovens Dowger, but he's able to find the loose ball and put it up. The Beacons have been the team that struggled with turnovers here in the first half, not Regis as we expected. Barnes back for Lewis-Jean. Had started every game he's played in prior to tonight. Coming off a 4-game absence due to a head injury. Ty Lee over to Barnes with 12 on the shot clock. Barnes drives the paint over the bigger player off the mark, taps the rebound out to Ty Lee. The Beacons get a new 30. Lee picks up his dribble. Lewis-Jean thought about it. Now will drive in with the right hand. Beautiful finish from Kevin Lewis-Jean.
Something you won't see the Beacons do very often is have their guards driving the hoop when you got 3 guys standing above 6 feet tall, you know, contesting your shot. They're definitely going to have to look out.
Interesting that the Beacons are keeping Ty Lee on Roger Hamill at all times. As Broom caught that one while his foot was still out of bounds. It's almost as if the Beacons are more worried about Hamill, the transfer from an NAIA school, rather than Broom, the transfer from the D1 school, as Hamill and Afanja will check out. Checking in, Jordan Selden. Already seen him in the starting lineup, a talented player. Along with, well, we've got 3 subs. We'll just bring in the new players into the game. Looks like it's number 24, Sean Wingfeld, for the first time. He's a pretty good role player as Lewis-Jean finishes over the top of Wiedeburn to cut it back to a 1-point deficit. The Beacons trail by as many as 6. Wingfeld out there alongside Julio Goulet, the senior out of the Bronx, who controls up top. Goulet for Wiedeburn. Hands it off for Wingfeld. Wingfeld, one of the many players out of the state of Florida. This Regis team has 7 players from Florida, just 1 from Massachusetts. Strong drive from Wingfeld, and he's able to finish with the right hand.
Not something the Beacons can't have. Their defense just collapsed on that drive. You see a guy going to the hoop strong. Someone's got to stand in and take the charge.
Ty Lee tries the answer, drew some contact, not enough for a foul. We've seen 2 fouls thus far, both on the Beacons in the first nearly 8 minutes of action. Selden drives, kicks it out for Wingfeld from the elbow, picks up his dribble, across, wide open, and there's an easy finish for Joens Dowger, the freshman of Oakland Park, Florida.
You know, this Pride team is not going to be a perimeter team. They're not going to shoot out from the perimeter. They're going to look to use their size and drive.
Barnes unable to answer, and an easy rebound down low for Dowger. The Beacons had no one within 10 feet of the offensive boards, while Regis had 4 players in the paint. Beacons with 3 players waiting to check in. It's Charlie and Charles Mitchell and Dan Powers. First time we'll have seen Charlie Mitchell in the last 5 games after he suffered a knee injury. Deep into the shot clock, it's Julio Goulet from the corner, and the lead is pushed out to 7. That's the largest it's been today for Regis.
And we see James Hawken stepping up to the line. He's going to check in soon, too, and the Beacons just need more size.
Michael Boyd, an early 3, almost tracked down his rebound, and it's a chance for Regis to push this out to 9 or even double digits. Up top in the hands of Wiedeburn. And now it's Goulet looking to go to work on Boyd. Another jumper, this one short, and an easy rebound for Lewis-Jean.
You know, you don't see Roger Hamill out on the court right now, and he's one of the Pride who have the most three-point attempts, and he's shooting from the three-point line at 36.4%. So you got to look for the Pride to kind of feed the post a little bit on this small-sized Beacons.
Hamill, the team's leading scorer as well, though he only averages 10.3 points. The floater from Lee is off the mark, tipped out, and Wingfeld grabs it. An easy hand check call against Barnes. And that should lead us to our second media timeout. The Beacons are going to have some work to do. They're now down 7 with 10:44 to play, and this is the first game of 2018 for either side.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a teaching soul.
21-14 in favor of the Regis College Pride, nearly halfway through this first half. Gigi, we know that Jason Harris is probably going to have a sarcastic remark at halftime one way or another. Love the guy, but
very true.
He is he's pretty sarcastic. Unless his team is up by 30, he's not happy at halftime.
Which doesn't happen often.
How do we get a little bit, maybe a happier Jason Harris at the break? What do the Beacons need to do right now to turn the tide?
I think they just need to settle down a little bit. You know, when you got to make a shot, you got to know that this team is going to out-rebound you. So if you're going to make your shots, you know, don't be shooting NBA three-pointers. Get a shot that you're confident in, set your feet. You know, they got to feed the post a little bit more, you know, kind of contest these Pride players and try to get them a couple fouls.
Resetting the Beacons lineup, it's Charlie and Charles Mitchell out with James Hawkins Jr., Dan Powers, and Sam Boyd. Dalger across for Wingfeld, now into the hands of Selden. The other two players out there are Wiedeburn, and it looks like Julio Goulet, who controls right now with 9 on the shot clock. Gets a screen up top, slips the screen, and an easy bucket for Wiedeburn.
I don't know if it's just me, but the Beacons don't want to put a body on a player. You know, you can't just give them an easy lane to the hoop.
Well, that was just so easy seeing from up here. Is Mitchell able to answer? That's Charles from the corner, cutting it back to a 6-point game. But realistically, the Beacons are struggling on offense a bit, but their defense is where I think they need most of the work.
Absolutely, 100%. And that's unlucky because that would have given the Beacons a lot of momentum. You know, 6 points in about a minute. Definitely put them back in the game.
It's the 4th foul on the Beacons, first on Charles Mitchell. We're about to see a whole-scale change for Regis. They're going to bring out Hamill, the team's leading scorer, Afonso, the team's leading rebounder, along with Tim Broom, who's had a very strong start to the game. Dimitri Rose is in for the first time. He's their second leading three-point shooter at 14 of 38. And the final player in there is Juwan Lewis, who shoots it at 60.5%, senior out of Jacksonville, Florida. Broom, who had a very good start to the game before heading to the bench, is guarded by Charlie Mitchell. Quite a mismatch in terms of size. Broom picks it up over for Afonso. And we've got an offensive foul, the first foul of the game against this Regis side, and it comes almost 11 minutes in. It's Juwan Lewis called for the reach around there against James Hawkins to create space.
I don't know if I've ever seen a basketball game that we've gone 11 minutes in without anyone shooting a free throw.
Well, Regis, we mentioned it, they're so good at not fouling. 162 total fouls in the year. I said they were 5th. They're a little bit lower than that, 67 out of 416. And now we've got an offensive foul on the Beacons. Charles Mitchell there was trying to catch the handoff, but instead is called for the illegal pick, and that's actually Charlie Mitchell. Benefits the Beacons, as that's the first on Charlie, would have been the second on Charles. 5 fouls on the Beacons, just 1 on Regis. Broom over for Rosa. Remember, he's the guy who likes to shoot threes. The lefty out of Tiverton, Rhode Island. Lone player from the Quahog State. There's a big block from James Hawkins Jr. And it'll be Regis with the ball with 15 left on the shot clock.
That's got to make the Beacons feel a little bit good. You know, you get a guy who's above 6 feet, and you get Hawkins just contesting him. He's not afraid of him. You can tell.
Beacons a little bit bigger than normal with two bigs out there, and Powers and James Hawkins Jr. For the most part, first semester, it was 4 guards and 1 big. Afanja and 1. Catches it over the back of Powers and able to finish well above the rim. Afanja is 6'5", 205, but he plays even bigger than that, and the junior out of Staten Island has a chance for a 3-point play.
That's the athleticism that we talked about. You know, play like that was well rehearsed by the Pride. You know that that's their go-to play, and the fact that he got that in over Dan Powers, and now he has a chance for a free throw, you know, that's just brilliant.
Well, Dan Powers had an issue with the call because he never left the ground, and Afanja was catching it, made a little contact with his back. He didn't think it was enough for a call. Funny thing is, Afanja was actually thinking he was the one getting called for an over the back. So both players would have been very upset with the call.
Yeah, well, you don't really see a foul on a player who doesn't leave his feet and just, you know, someone jumps on their back. So I can see where Dan Powers is coming from.
It's the second on Powers, 6th on the Beacons. Next foul on the Beacons will lead to the 1-and-1. It's Charlie Mitchell. Good sign for him, who struggled to shoot the ball in first semester. Knocks down a look to cut it back to 7. Still a ton of time left in this first half. 8:20 as Broom is playing games there with Charles Mitchell. Hamill looking to create some space. Gets a screen from Lewis. Up top for Afanja, who has scored all of his points either from the free throw line or from within inches away from the rim. Hamill, 3 from the corner, no good. Afanja, another putback. He has 11 points with 5 putbacks from within about 2 feet of the rim.
You just can't stop this guy on the boards. Can't.
Rare foul on Regis, just their second. This one will go on Roger Hamill as Charlie Mitchell is driving. And we've got our third media time out of the half. It's Regis 28, UMass Boston 19, tied for the largest lead of the game.
Celebrate the soggy shoes and the slow starts. Celebrate the lessons learned along the way. These are the wins. Not the shiny, nail-biting kind. These are the last a lifetime kind.
Fans, remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, at UMass Beacons. That transition caught me a little bit for a loop. Anthony Searles, our trustee director, found a couple new transitions over the weekend that he used during the Codfish Bowl tournament. The UMass Boston men's hockey team, of course, falling to Salve Regina in the finals. But Beacons men's team only fell 2 spots in the national polls, still sitting 9th in both polls. Taking a look at the lineups, the only change to the Beacons, James Hawkins Jr. replaced by Kevin Lewis-Jean, and Jason Sinelli in there for what I think is Iser Barnes. So the Beacons go with 2 bigs still. It'll be the 2 Mitchells, Boyd, Kevin Lewis-Jean, and Sinelli, as it'll be a inbounds pass with 23 on the shot clock, 7:50 to go. Charlie Mitchell from the same spot he connected with earlier misses there. Sinelli draws contact, and Afanja is going to be rightly called there for the foul. He's complaining, but he definitely brought his right hand down a little bit to catch the elbow of Jason Sinelli.
That's smart basketball by Jason Sinelli, and that's something you want to see the Beacons do a little bit more of. Try to get the Pride in some foul trouble. You know, you're going to get your points where you can. Charity strip is always the best place to do it.
Sinelli, one of the Beacons' better free throw shooters on the season. The sophomore out of Boston leads the team in attempts and makes. He's now 29 of 40, just over 72%. Beacons are now going to elect to go small. Iser Barnes, who's just under 6 feet, is going to replace Kevin Lewis-Jean, who's 6'3". So maybe the Beacons trying to speed it up a bit. Sinelli hits both. And we're going to see Sinelli replaced by Ty Lee. This is the smallest lineup we've seen at home this year. The Beacons with 5 guards out there trying to speed things up against Regis. Gigi, you were a point guard back in your day in high school. What do you think about this tactical decision by Jason Harris?
I can see what he's trying to do. He's trying to get the Pride, a little bit riled up and a little bit frazzled, but man, with Broom in that drive, you just can't stop him.
That's against Iser Barnes, the Beacons' best defender, and all-defensive team member a year ago. Couldn't stay in front of Broom enough. He's called for the block. Broom a chance to make this a double-digit lead as he has had the hot hand. He and Afanja combined for at least 20 of Regis' first 30 points, if not more, as he knocks down the free throw, and Kevin Lewis-Jean is right back in there. He'll replace Charlie Mitchell. Jason Harris didn't stick with that lineup for too long.
Yeah, well, when you're trying to speed the game up, I can see why, Regis is known for their turnovers. But with a small lineup like that, who are you going to have guarding Afanja?
You just hope he doesn't get the ball at that point. It's Ty Lee up top for Boyd. Boyd trying to get the handoff over for Barnes. Regis has done a nice job denying some of that handoff action. Up top, it's Lewis-Jean from the free throw line working on Afanja. Couple dribbles back for Barnes. Not much of a three-point shooter. He looks to drive on the bigger Wiederburn off the mark, and the rebound into the hands of Afanja. Broom has been so good working against this guard-oriented Beacons team. A behind-the-back dribble, kicks it off for Afanja, an athletic catch, spins, throws it up off the mark, and Wiederburn was looking, actually that was Dowgers looking for a foul, not going to get it. Mitchell for Lewis-Jean, who took one too many steps before getting going. And the Beacons turned it over once again. This was not the way the Beacons had hoped this game would go with so many turnovers on their end.
Well, yeah, well, you said at the beginning, the Beacons known for forcing turnovers. A little bit, the tables have turned a little bit here, but definitely something that I think Coach Harris is going to talk to them about come halftime. And we're going to see a little bit of improvement during the second half.
See what corrections Nate Hager will have for his team. Sure, there's some things that Nate would like to improve on as well. Afanja picks up the dribble, kicks it out. 15 on the shot clock for Broom. Has the option of a screen for Afanja. So he'll drive to his right, kicks it over for Hager, and we've got an offensive foul on Tim Broom. Just the 4th on Regis versus 7 for the Beacons, and we'll get a substitution with Dimitri Rosa, who's only out there for a couple of seconds, replaced by Jordan Selden.
The Pride's going a little bit bigger than they were before. Switching out Rosa, something that they kind of want to slam the Beacons when they're down. Nothing wrong with that.
Barnes gets the handoff up with the right hand. No goaltending. That ball may have still been on the way up, and there's a 3 from distance. Charles Mitchell able to finish after the Beacons thought they had an easy 2. Cuts it back to 7.
That's something the Beacons are going to be looking to do throughout the day. If they can't be feeding the post, they can't get the baskets from down low, they're going to need, Charles Mitchell, Michael Boyd start making their shots from the three-point line.
Beacons coming off their best shooting performance of the season as Broom draws contact. This time he's off the mark. UMass Boston shot 50% against Eastern Nazarene on December 14th and 60% from distance. 12 of 20 tying their season high for made threes. Barnes will give his hand a try, and he's a little bit short with Afanja the rebound, and now they'll push in transition. Selden goes all the way with himself and over the hand of Sinelli, an easy finish.
Yeah, you saw Hamill out there asking for the ball, but he got Charles Mitchell, and there you go. There you have it, Floodgates have opened.
Charles Mitchell's already hit 3 3-pointers, and the Beacons, despite being dominated a little bit right now, only down 6 with 5:07 to play. Both teams have a player waiting to check in. Hamill will kick it all the way across near side for Selden. Selden to Afanja on the block, working on the smaller Sinelli. Sinelli giving up 3 inches, back up top for Selden. 8 on the shot clock, deep 3. Selden well off the mark, and a good kick out by Sinelli. Finds Barnes, 2-on-1, the Euro step, and he's able to rattle it home to cut it back to 4.
Hey, let me tell you something. If that basket didn't go in, Coach Harris would have been really riled up there. But glad to see Iser Barnes, getting in his groove a little bit.
Well, you got to give credit to Hamill there. He was able to make it difficult on Barnes without giving up the foul.
Absolutely.
Near side, it's Selden. Selden from just inside the NCAA mark up top. This is the closest the Beacons have been in a while, and there's the answer. It's Jovins Dowger, who came in averaging 5.2 points per game. He's had quite a few baskets, and it pushes it back to 6. Barnes, a hard drive, this time the left hand, And it's a 4-point game at 35-31 with 4:05 left.
That's something you love to see, the senior eyes for Barnes, kind of getting a little bit of confidence, trying to lead the team, trying to get a couple points that he can down low in the paint.
Selden being contested there by Barnes. The Beacons have been aggressive away from the basket, trying to come up with some steals. 3 players at the scores table for UMass Boston, 2 more for Regis. Gallagher picks up his dribble, and he's called for the travel. We'll get the Beacons with a chance to cut it to a 2-point game, a 1-possession game after this final media timeout of half number 1.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
Gigi, at the last media timeout, it was a 10-point game, and it seemed like Regis had a chance to roll. What was the biggest difference in these last 4 to 5 minutes for UMass Boston that's gotten them back within striking distance?
We're seeing a bit of the Beacons team that we talked about during the scouting report. They're forcing turnovers from the Pride. You can definitely see guys that are getting frustrated when they can't score on the basket, and their defense is just improving. They're producing more on the defensive end, which is going to generate transitions, and it's going to generate into easy layups, which is what they've been doing. They're definitely cutting down the lead. We're only at the Pride is only above them by 4 points right now, and you've got to see a couple of shots out from Charles Mitchell or a couple layups from Iser Barnes, and little things like that can definitely change the momentum of the game.
Beacons have certainly had a balanced scoring offense for Regis, who will continue churning through players, just trying to keep some fresh legs out there. Mark Trinidad, the freshman forward out of the Bronx, New York, 6'7", 180. So a tall guy, but not necessarily a big guy. As Charles Mitchell hits his 4th 3 already of the half to cut it to a 1-point game. And Trinidad, we thought that his foot was on the baseline, but they say that Regis never actually took the ball out of bounds, so it's not a change of possession there because it was never a legal inbounds. But we see Trinidad inbounding the ball. Trinidad seen time in all 9 games this year, averages about 12 minutes per game. But right now, Regis going with their bench, looking for a little bit of energy. Remember, 3rd game in 4 days. They could slow down a little bit as this game goes along. Goulet up top, out there with Wingfield, Trinidad, alongside Wiederburn back into the game, and Jordan Selden, the only starter out there. Trinidad over for Goulet with 7. Regis has gone deep in the shot clock on about 2/3 of their possessions. Up top for Wiederburn, over for Selden with 1, and he gets it off in time, but it never hits rim. The Beacons will have a chance to tie or take the lead after trailing for almost this entire half.
And that's good defense there by the Beacons. The Pride are a little bit more of a talented team, height-wise and stuff, but the Beacons are scrappy. They're never going to give up an easy basket. So definitely something to look forward to that.
Beacons with Jake Smith out there for the first time, the 6'5" freshman out of Norwell, who started the year anchored to the bench but had to see time when they had multiple players injured. Out there with Ty Lee, Dason Sinelli, Charles Mitchell, and Charlie Mitchell. 4 freshmen, and a sophomore. And the Beacons will have a chance. We'll see if this was in the act of shooting or not. They're going to say it was on the floor. So just the 5th foul on Regis. That's going to go on Julio Goulet. Regis has 5 players each with 1 foul. The Beacons have 5 players with fouls, but 1 has 2. And we've got a foul against UMass Boston on the inbounds. It's going to be Jake Smith, the lone big out there, picking up his first. Team's 8th, but because it was a loose ball foul, it will stay with Regis rather than free throws coming. It's not what you want to see there if you're UMass Boston, giving the ball back after the turnover. Tim Broom back into the game, trying to provide a scoring option for this Regis team who's gone young right now. Trinidad 6'7" against Ty Lee, who's at 5'10" at best. The right-hand hook, and that's just too easy.
That's an easy mismatch. The Pride read it so easily that nothing Ty Lee could have really done on that except for foul.
No, the only guys who have a chance against Trinidad are Smith, the man with the ball, and Dason Sinelli. But then there's mismatches other places. Charles Mitchell with his team down 3. Beacons have not been tied or leading in well over 10 minutes. Charles Mitchell, the runner, too strong. Rebound into the hands of Wiederburn with under 2 to play.
Something you see the Beacons doing, they're getting that three-quarter press because they want the Pride to give up the ball.
Wingfield a little bit too strong on the 3. It's tipped out. Charles Mitchell with the rebound. Jason Snelly from straight away, not necessarily his forte. And Trinidad, the rebound and the block. Well over Jason Snelly there. Broom had a chance for the 3. He'll give it up. Wiederburn over for Broom, and now it's Trinidad over the smaller Snelly. Too strong on the potential lay-in.
Something I do like that I'm seeing from the Beacons is they're collapsing in the paint. They're not letting the Pride get that easy layup like they did in the early first half.
68 seconds left in the first half. A chance potentially for a 2-for-1. Down to 15 seconds left on the shot clock. Ty Lee goes to work all the way in with the right hand, and he finishes over the taller Trinidad.
And that's a signature move right there. The easy little finger roll, easy layup.
See if Regis tries to push for a 2-for-1. They'll call a timeout here. 47 seconds left in the half, 24 on the shot clock. If they're able to get a shot off in the next 5 to 6 seconds, they should have a chance for another possession. We'll take one last timeout here in half number 1, and then we'll be back with the conclusion of this exciting first half.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
47 seconds left. Gigi, what do you think that we might see from Regis here in terms of offensive strategy, but also who they might be looking for on this possession?
I would say you're definitely looking to go down big.
Afanja's out there now alongside Trinidad.
And you see, those two players put up together, that's trouble for the Beacons.
Barnes right now giving up 5 inches, and it's Hawkins on Trinidad. Afanja, though, steps back and hits a long jumper.
That might be the first jumper we've seen him hit today, right?
Yeah, everything else has been within 2 feet. He's certainly a talented offensive player. 3-point game, 1 second difference between the shot clock and game clock. So looks like the Beacons will try to play it out and keep it to just the 1 shot. So the Beacons will use their timeout. A little bit of gamesmanship right now with both teams using late timeouts. 3-point game. Beacons likely will head into the half trailing or at best tied, as we see Kevin Lewis-Jean head to the scorer's table, Dan Powers head to the scorer's table. What are you hoping if you're UMass Boston here with 16 on the shot clock, 16.8 to go in the half?
If you got guys like Powers who can hit it from the 3, you got guys like Charles Mitchell, Michael Boyd. From the Beacons, I'm looking to, a little drive to the hoop, kind of dish it outside, try to get a 3-pointer, tie the game at the half, slow the game down, come into halftime, come into the second half with the tie game and kind of get a fresh start a little bit there.
It was a close game early. Regis pushed their lead out to as many as 10, about 2/3 of the way through the half, and the Beacons fought back valiantly. Charles Mitchell has gotten hot. He's got at least 4 3-pointers for the Beacons, and they've locked it down defensively. Right now for UMass Boston, it's Ty Lee, their top playmaker, out with Michael Boyd and Charles Mitchell, very able 3-point shooters, and Powers and Lewis-Jean right now, possible screeners. Lee's going to go to the left, backdoor screen from Boyd, and it's Lee going to take a 3, not his forte, he's short, rebound to the heads of Lewis-Jean, and he's short as well. The Beacons had a chance to cut it to 1, instead they'll head to the half down 3. Gigi, your initial thoughts in the first 20 minutes?
I think that the Beacons definitely played a little bit better defense, and that's kind of what generated their offense on the other half. I think there might have been a little bit of some miscommunication there with that play in the last couple of seconds. I know Dan Powers probably wanted to get that shot off instead. Ty Lee, who doesn't really hit a lot of threes, forced to take the shot there with time running out, but definitely something to see for the Beacons is improving their defense, and that's going to just generate a little bit more offense. We'll take a commercial break right now, and we'll come back with Seth down low talking to Coach Harris.
UMass Boston was my first choice because when I came to the campus, I saw that there was a lot of diversity. There's a lot of people. Here there is a lot of international students, so it's really cool to meet people from different countries, different parts of the world. I'm Julia Murphy. I'm from Canton, Massachusetts.
I'm Olivia Murphy. I'm from Canton, Massachusetts.
We're sisters.
We're sisters.
I play volleyball and she plays basketball. Here they have a freshman success community. So each major has their own community that you can join as a freshman, and you take classes with them, you do study groups with them. So it was really helpful getting to know people in your major right away.
So in health exercise sciences, we have an internship at the end, so it's so much better to have like an advisor helping you out, like telling you which classes to choose.
Joined by head coach Jason Harris. Coach, you were down by 10. What was the biggest thing you were preaching to your team about the ability to get back into the game?
Just effort and energy. You know, flat, came out a little flat, hadn't played in a while. Just had to play harder.
Afanja and Broom both really hurt you, two very different players. Who are you going to look to slow down a little bit more in the second half, or which guy needs to not get as much of his game going?
You know, I think a lot of it starts with our ball pressure, though. You know, they're so much bigger than us and so much more athletic. If we're allowing them to sit back and read our defense and enter the ball into the post, you know, they can pick their poison, and that's kind of what the problem was. We were inconsistent with our ball pressure. You know, if you don't blitz Brady, he's going to shred you.
Finally, you were able to get a couple guys back that you didn't have first semester. Dan Powers in the starting lineup. How much more lineup versatility do you have right now? I'm sure it's going to take a couple games to work out, but we saw so many more different options.
Yeah, you know, we got different options. I know some of the guys probably aren't too happy right now. A little harder to get into a groove, you know, with playing that extra 2 or 3 guys. But, you know, we have the ability to go bigger, go smaller, and, you know, we kind of tell them in the first half, make sure you make the most out of your minutes because, you know, we got so many different guys that we can play so many different ways. Make sure that you leave your mark so when it comes second half, you're in no matter what way we play.
Thanks so much for your time, Coach. Good luck in the second half. Pretty upbeat Jason Harris after a tough first 10 minutes. We'll head back up top right now and take a look at the highlights from the first time, or the last time UMass Boston was at home. A big 78-72 win over Eastern Nazarene College. And welcome back. It's Regis 39, UMass Boston 36. The Beacons with 5 of their 6 wins this year at home. Regis came in today 0-4 on the road. So we'll see if the Beacons can turn it around in the second half. UMass Boston shooting 40% from the field, but 46% from distance. A big reason why they're in this game right now. So the Beacons shot 6 of 13 from distance. Regis just 1 of 5. So there's a big part of why the Beacons are in the game. Both teams perfect 2 of 2 from the free throw line. And Gigi, the stat that most jumps out to me is both rebounds are within 1 and turnovers are within 1. So neither side is taking advantage of the supposed strength they were going to have in this game.
Actually, Seth, I think that the biggest stat that jumps out at me is the three-point percentage. You see the Beacons have their 26% above Regis College. Not something that we're a little bit, blown away by, but you got a guy like Charles Mitchell who has 15 points, and all of his points have come from beyond the arc, and that's something that you just have to see him kind of keep going a little bit. You know he's a three-point machine. You know he's going to produce from the perimeter, and that's just something that you have to see throughout the second half. The turnovers, I can't say I'm as surprised, but I would think that the Beacons got to lessen a little bit of their turnovers. I know a lot of the points that the Pride have scored have come from transition, from the turnovers, and I think Jason Harris's tactic of going a little bit smaller is to force a lot of those turnovers when you get guys who are 6'5", who can't really handle the ball as well as the Beacons guards. I think that's definitely, a power move that he had there. You might want to see a little bit more of that come the second half.
Regis did make up with their poor three-point shooting. Just one made 3 in 5 attempts. Shot 58.1%, 18 percentage points above their season average. Right now we'll take a look at the team leaders if we have them. And Charles Mitchell's going to be up there because of his three-point shooting. Charles went 5 of 7 from the field and 5 of 7 overall as we get the correct one in there. No big deal right there. It's Mitchell with 15 for the Beacons, 6 from Kevin Lewis-Jean. On the other side, let's look at Afonja's numbers. Anamola Afonja, 6 of 7 from the field. Most of those made field goals from in close. He has 13 points along with 5 rebounds. Jason Snelly, actually the leading rebounder, with 6. And then Broom, I'm a little surprised he only has 8. He was very effective, 3 of 6 from the field, hit the only three-pointer. He also has 2 assists but 3 turnovers. Really, it's been a pretty balanced scoring distribution outside of those 2 guys with double digits. Quite a few guys have scored for both of these teams who have both played well over 10 players.
Something that surprises me as I'm looking at the stat sheet here, Roger Hamill has no points. He has not scored at all. He is their team leading scorer, but the Beacons have done a good job of shutting him out, and that might be why it's a very close game. It's only a 3-point game leading into the second half.
Right now we'll take a look at the highlights from half number 1 before we bring you a look around the rest of the conference, a look around the rest of Beaconville, and some more highlights here on the Beacons Broadcast Network. And he shot the ball 35% from distance. Beacons turnover, chance to go the other way. It looked like there was a bit of a shoulder shove there, and Regis sends their first over. Charles Mitchell from the near wing drains it in this first half.
If anyone didn't see that, that was an NBA 3 that Broom just...
Last 5 games after he suffered a knee injury. Deep into the shot clock, it's Julio Goulet from the corner, and the lead is pushed out. Player from the Quahog State. There's no goaltending. That ball may have still been on the way up, and there's a 3 from distance. Welcome back to the Beacons Broadcast Network. 3-point game, 4:37 to go before the start of half number 2. We'll take a look around Beaconville right now. This is the first game of 2018. Men's hockey was the last team to play in 2017. It wasn't a great finish to the year. They battled back from a 2-0 deficit in the third period to tie the game 2-2 before ultimately losing in the Codfish Bowl championship game 3-2. Women's basketball 10-1 on the year. They also played on the 31st. Actually, it was the 30th, Saturday the 30th, and they earned a big 68-63 comeback win over MIT. It's actually a really nice piece in the Boston Herald on New Year's Day about the team. You can check it out on UMass Boston's Twitter and Facebook page. And the women's hockey team, after a long layoff, gets back to action on Friday. They'll travel up to William Smith College That's a 7 p.m. game. Right now we'll take a look at those highlights from the Beacons' loss to Salve Regina, nationally ranked side, and then we'll be back with a look around the rest of the conference and a look ahead for UMass Boston men's basketball. Minute and 12 to go before the start of half number 2. Real quick, we'll take a look around the rest of the conference. 2 other games going on tonight, including a big one at LaFrac Gymnasium in Western Mass. That's a great game right now. It's Amherst College leads Eastern Connecticut State, the preseason LAC favorite, by just 2 at the half. Southern Maine, a good game, but they fell 15 points shy of the Nichols College team that was in the NCAA tournament a year ago out of the Commonwealth Coast Conference, the first of 3 conferences that Regis has played in. Real quick, a look ahead. This is one of 3 games this week for UMass Boston men's basketball. They're supposed to be at Bridgewater State on Thursday night. I say supposed to be because the east coast of Massachusetts is supposed to be hit by up to 8 to 12 inches on Thursday. So that could cause some problems in terms of travel.
My mom sent me a nice little text message about that today. She was like, "Did you see the news?" I was like, "Yes, Mother, I did."
I got that text from my dad on Sunday, so he was ahead of the game. Eastern Connecticut State, that's on Saturday, a big game for the Beacons as they'll look to move to 2-1 in conference play against a very good team. And then we talked about that long road trip the Beacons are going to be on. They'll travel to Plymouth State next Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. 5 of the Beacons' next 6 games on the road. Thus far, the Beacons, who stand at 6-5, have just 1 win on the road in limited total contests. Right now, to start second half play, it'll be Michael Boyd, Dan Powers, Dason Sinelli, Kevin Lewis-Jean, and Charles Mitchell. Same starting 5 for the Beacons with the exception of Lewis-Jean. I don't think he was out there to start the first half. For Regis, they'll go with Hamill, Afanja, Selden, Broom, and Jawan Lewis. That was their starting unit in half number 1. 3-point lead for the Pride, who will go from left to right. Broom down low, and the smaller Boyd gets triple teamed. Up top for Hamill, throws a baseball pass over to the far side. 12 on the shot clock. This has been a problem for Regis. A lot of times deep into the shot clock. Lewis can't handle it. Now he spots up over Lewis-Jean, in and out. Hamill tries to tip it around, and he is going to go out of bounds without the foul being called. There was contact, but the Beacons will get a break early on in half number 2.
A little something I've been seeing. just in these first, 30 seconds, the Beacons are closing down low. They are not allowing the Pride to get that easy layup, and that's something that we didn't see a lot of in the first half.
Lewis Jean up top, and we've got a hand check foul on Afanja trailing Dan Powers. It's the second on Afanja, who becomes the first player on Regis to be called for multiple fouls. That's Adamola's second foul of the game.
We don't see the Pride fouling a lot, but with, Afanja with already 2 fouls, you might want to get him in the hot seat.
Good run there from Boyd, but he can't finish. Ball stripped out of the hands of Lewis Jean, with Boyd picking up the loose ball with 24 on the shot clock. Powers for the tie. Dan Powers, his first 3 of his second senior season. He's got 6 for the game. Actually, that was his second 3. And the Beacons are tied at 39 after trailing for the majority of that first half.
That's good to see, a senior leader like that, just getting a shot off, getting comfortable from the three-point line. Love to see it.
Great move from Selden, unable to answer, and Sinelli has it. The Beacons have not led in this game. They've trailed for all but a minute 23. Mitchell able to go hard to the hoop. He's fouled by Lewis. Gigi, this is a new stat that the box scores from Stat Crew give this year. They not only give the largest lead, they give how long each team has led for. In that first half, Regis led for 18 minutes and 33 seconds. The Beacons did not lead, and the game was tied for just a minute and 23. So that shows how dominant Regis was in that first half, leading by as many as 10. And now the Beacons have a chance to lead just a minute and 12 seconds in, minute 22 seconds into the second half. But it's Charles Mitchell, one of their worst free throw shooters at the line.
Yeah, you'd love to see a guy like him who's, a natural shooter from the perimeter. You'd like to see him, work a little bit on his free throw shooting as he misses both right there. That could have given the Beacons a little bit of a lead there.
Mitchell shot at 44.4% first semester. He's now 16 of 38. This is from a man who shot 32 of 100 from behind the arc. 32%, but still, three-pointer is always going to be more difficult than a free throw, as Power is able to grab the rebound, and the Beacons will have another chance here to take the lead. Boyd over into the corner for Charles Mitchell, who hit 4 threes in that first half. Those are the first 2 missed free throws of the game. Both teams 2 of 2 in the first half. There's a deep 2 from Lewis Jean. Can't quite get the bounce. And Adamola Afanja with the rebound.
And you saw Sinelli kind of just mistime his jump there a little bit. He wanted to get that little tip in.
Tim Broom over for Selden. Had the pick from Lewis, passed it up. Afanja had a backdoor cutter, and Hamill passed it up. Now Afanja, a couple of ball fakes. He'll take a deep 2. Adamola Afanja has a phenomenal offensive game. He's 7 of 8 now, 15 points, but he's shown that he's capable of scoring both from right next to the basket and from nearly behind the three-point arc.
And with a guy like Dan Powers on him, you're really going to see them test each other.
Both players have that capability of scoring from distance. Boyd forced into a 3, no good. Sinelli taps it over for Lewis Jean, and the Beacons get another new 30. Charles Mitchell for the lead. He's short. Regis will control, already holding a 2-point lead.
Jason Sinelli stands at 6'1", but let me tell you, this guy can jump as high as, the tallest player probably on the Pride team.
Selden wide open 3 from the wing off the mark, and the rebound in and out of the hands of Mitchell is going to look to run. Somehow able to hold on to that ball amongst a lot of traffic. Still going with it, draws contact, no call. Lewis Jean the offensive rebound, and we're tied at 41. Don't know how Charles Mitchell was able to handle that ball. It was almost like he had a magnet at the end of his hand.
Yeah, and you saw Dason Sinelli was wide open on the other end. I really thought he was just going to look up and give that easy dish to Dason for a nice little layup there, but hey, whatever works, works.
Lewis Jean was the Beacons' second leading scorer in that first half. He's up to 8 points in his return from an injury that kept him out for most of December. Afanja, another deep contested 2. He is feeling it tonight. 17 points on 8 of 9 shooting.
And Coach Harris's scout, you see under, Adamola Afanja, it says be physical, and that's something you want to see a little bit more out of Dan Powers.
Kevin Lewis Jean gets the roll. That ball hit every single part of the rim. He's got back-to-back buckets just like Afanja, and we're tied at 43. So we saw Regis lead for almost the entire first half, all but about a minute 30. The Beacons have already tied this game 3 times here to start the second half, and we haven't even gotten to our first media timeout. Broom being badgered there, knocked down, no call. He's slow to get up. Afonja drives. He'll draw the contact. Sinelli's asking for the foul with Powers already on having 2. And we'll wait for the referee to let us know. It does look like it'll be Sinelli's second. Actually, just his first. So almost 4.5 minutes gone. We've got a much closer second half than we had in the first half. We're all tied at 43 with Afonja heading to the line for 2 after this media timeout.
The University of Massachusetts Boston, with its scenic oceanfront campus, easily accessible to downtown Boston, is recognized as a model of excellence for urban public universities. 16 NCAA Division III sports are part of the more than 100 student organizations that create an engaging campus life in America's biggest and best college town. UMass Boston, Boston's urban public research university for the 21st century.
(43, 15:37 to go in half number 2. A good one going. These two teams played for the first time in their program's history a year ago. It was Regis, an 80-73 win. Last year, it was actually UMass Boston that had a 10-point first half lead on the road before Regis was able to cut it back. Today, it was Regis leading by as many as 10 in the first half. The Beacons cut it to 3 at the half. And right now, Gigi, it looks like unless one side or the other can tighten things up a little bit, we could have another game going down to the wire here at the Clark Athletic Center.
Yeah, it's going to come down to, who can hit the vital shots. And right now, the Pride are seeming to come in a little bit more clutch than the Beacons are.
That was just the second missed shot of the day for Afonja, who was taking his first free throw. He's just 9 of 19 from the line this year, which is funny because we've just seen him hit 2 shots from the blue paint a little bit further back, but only with the hand in his face.
He's kind of a little bit like Charles Mitchell. He can hit any shot, and then you get to the foul line a little bit and gets a little tricky.
Goes 1 of 2. He's now 10 of 21 on the year, just a little bit below 50%. Gives his team a 1-point lead. Michael Boyd has been pretty quiet tonight. The Beacon's second leading scorer. As it's Hawkins, hands it off for Powers, able to finish with the left hand. And the Beacons have their first lead of the game almost 25 minutes in.
That's something you love to see from Hawkins over there, being a little bit unselfish. Dan Powers making that cut to the basket. You got to get that because the Pride definitely thought that Hawkins was going to go up with that.
Well, Gigi, it's something that the Beacons didn't have the possibility of doing first semester because they played with so many one big lineups as Charles Mitchell is called for the kick before the steal happened. Sometimes you get more of those easy looks when you have both bigs doubling down on one big, leaving the other one open, and the Beacons just didn't have those easy looks for their bigs first semester because of their lack of depth.
Yeah, and the Beacons are known more as a three-point shooting team, but now in the second semester when you got Dan Powers back, you got Kevin Lewis-Jean is healthy, definitely going to see a little bit more of combination work from their bigs.
And maybe a more confident Jake Smith, although he's seen very little time. Smith was limited to 3 minutes in that first half. Barnes, a speeding missile over for Powers, who drew contact. That's a no call, and I think it was a blatant miscall by the referees, but Powers able to chase down his rebound, and the Beacons will get it with 15 on the shot clock. Boyd, who hasn't looked for a shot that often, drains it, and the Beacons have their largest lead at 47-44.
It's happened the same thing against Eastern Nazarene right before the end of 2017, where Michael Boyd was a little quiet in the first half, and then come the second half, he went off for double-digit points.
Those were points 1 and 2 of the day for Boyd on just his third field goal attempt. Broom trying to answer deep three. He's hit 2 of those today from well behind the three-point line. Tim Broom now up to 11 points. Tied at 47, already our fourth tie here in half number 2. Powers from just inside the free throw line, well off the mark, hit the side of the rim, and the rebound falls there to Dimitri Rosa, the sophomore out of Tiverton, Rhode Island.
Something interesting to see is we haven't seen a lot of Roger Hamlin. I don't know if he's dealing with some injury or if maybe he's just in his own head, the fatigue from playing 3 games, but he hasn't seen a lot of minutes on the floor, and he has the most minutes played on this team.
Yeah, Hamill's a guy who came in averaging just under 11 points per game. Powers able to take it away from Afonja. 3-on-2 if they harry. Charles Mitchell from the corner, 3 in transition. He's got 5 threes on the day. Give him 18 points total, and the Beacons had the lead right back at 50-47. Got a reaching call on Barnes, who can't believe it.
And that's interesting. I mean, if we could get a chance to play that back, he waited. He got that pass from Iser Barnes, and he waited until that ball got to the three-point line. He knew he wanted to shoot that three. He didn't want to take that in for an easy layup.
Yeah, we'll see that, and it's one of the things I was able to watch a little bit more NBA games than I normally would over break, but you see that a ton in the NBA from the teams who have confidence in their three-point shooters. The Golden State Warriors are looking for threes in transition rather than looks at the rim. It's the same thing with the Houston Rockets, some of those other teams. Basketball is changing overall, and all of a sudden threes in transition are more common look. There's a very awkward-looking lefty jumper from past the free throw line from Wiederburn, who's well off the mark. He's a guy who shoots it pretty well, 47.9%, but probably a little bit further than he would like, as we see Regis go into a little bit of full court pressure for the first time. Wide open Mitchell looking to do it again. 6 threes in the game, 21 points, and that's what Regis doesn't want to see out of their press.
Hey, from the beginning of that press, you see Charlie, you guys might not have been able to see it, we got a better view up here, but you saw him waving his hands like crazy. He knew he wanted that ball, and the Beacons played that out perfectly.
Just saw a funny little play where Iser Barnes clearly had a hand draped all over Julio Goulet. The near official didn't call it. There was another dribble, and then the far official couldn't believe that the whistle had been blown originally, calls the foul on Barnes. As this time Wiederburn, from a lot closer to the hoop, is able to knock it down, and it's down to a 4-point game. The Beacons just had their largest lead of the game at 7 after trailing the entire first 23-24 minutes. Lee for Kevin Lewis-Jean, the righty hook. He's having a good game as well. He's into double digits with 10, and the Beacons have the 6-point lead.
That might be a little bit of like some pent-up energy he's had there. You know, he's been out for the past couple of games due to an injury, and coming back in the first game of 2018, he's going off for a couple points.
Bad turnover there by Wiederburn. All ahead of the pack is Charles Mitchell, and an easy lay-in for the Beacons' top scorer up to 23. The lead is 8, the largest it's been for UMass Boston with 12:05 to go, and the Beacons bench is asking their team to speed it up even more.
And that's the momentum you want to see from the Beacons. You want to see them press the ball. You want to see them rush it, and you got players like Charles Mitchell, who can run this floor that the Pride might not be able to keep up with.
Right now, we've got immediate timeout, but we're going to stick with it here as we have no commercial obligations, and we're going to try to bring you that play in transition, Gigi, that you were talking about. Even the last couple of highlights, UMass Boston is finally getting those turnovers we were asking for, but also using the speed that we expected them to have an advantage of, especially with Regis struggling maybe a little bit with those tired legs after playing on Saturday and Sunday.
I think especially with guys like, you know, Charles Mitchell, who's feeling it tonight, he can hit it from either, you know, the three-point line or, as we see here,
first
get that shot from Dan Powers.
And then here's the answer from Broom. So this is when we were going back and forth early on in the half, 4 different ties. Since then, it's been all UMass Boston. The Beacons right now in the midst of a 10-2 run.
And that was the shot that I was talking about where he waited to get that ball, and he got that last transition play. Great look from Iser Barnes. You know, an unselfish play. Give the ball off to Charles Mitchell. Easy two-pointer right there. And, you know, the Beacons with a big lead here into the second quarter, you know, that's something that you want to see from them. You want to see them kind of keep this lead going here. You don't want to see the Pride kind of get back, and they're going to look for a Fondra. They're going to look for Wiederburn to use their height and kind of, you know, get back into this game. But the Beacons, you know, going small again. Their biggest guy out there right now is Kevin Lewis-Jean.
Regis has hit just 2 threes in this game. Charles Mitchell by himself has 6 of them. As they'll go deeper into their rotation, Dex Gianti, the sophomore center out of Pembroke Pines, that should be a flagrant foul. We see Charlie Mitchell thrown to the ground, and it was Julio Goulet going up above of Charlie Mitchell.
Wow, I was really shook by that.
Looks like they're just going to give just a common foul there. I'd love to see it. He throws Mitchell to the ground going for the ball, but that is very close to a very dangerous play and possibly excessive contact there on the inbounds. We're actually in our media timeout for the second time. We get a media timeout for the first timeout of the second half, and then we're under the 12-minute mark. And we're gonna take a look at it. As Charlie Mitchell hopefully is okay. He missed the last couple games with a knee injury, and let's just take a look. It's a dangerous play just because it's up in the air and both guys are going for it.
See, but then you can question it. Was it intentional? I don't think it was intentional. I think that the hands kind of just met each other. Obviously, something that you don't want to see.
Well, doesn't look like we have it in full, but we wanna bring it in right now. It's Julio Goulet, and it's a pass from inside the three-point line that they're just trying to get out. We'll try to bring it to you right now. Hopefully Charlie Mitchell's okay. That's the biggest thing if you're UMass Boston, because he's one of your top ball handlers.
I mean, the first thing you hear is just his back and possibly even his head hit the court so hard.
Well, he's going to stay out there. So, as you see it right there, it does look like it's his back rather than his head. But it is an unfortunate play. And, yeah, there's nothing. Originally, it looked like a lot more than it was. So, Julio Goulet, just the single foul. It does give the Beacons the ball back, already up 8. Charles Mitchell, Ty Lee, Charlie Mitchell, Kevin Lewis Jean, and Dason Sinelli for the Beacons. Lewis Jean's had the hot hand, working on Gianti just into the game. Down to 17 on the shot clock. We'll dish it out for Charlie Mitchell, who was the player who took that hard hit. Goes over to his brother, Charles, and we've got another illegal screen there on Charlie. Second time that's happened today.
I don't know if that might be like a little bit of miscommunication there. I don't know if he wanted the ball back, but, setting a screen like that, it's hard to get called twice for an illegal screen.
Especially with your twin brother who you've been playing your entire life. Typically, those two know exactly what the other one's looking for. Selden drove, had the lane, and instead gives it off to Gianti. Finishes over the smaller Sinelli, cuts it back to a 57-51 Beacon lead. Interesting lineup right now for Regis. They go with Goulet, Joens Dowger out there with Dimitri Rosa, Dex Gianti, and the only player that we're used to seeing, at least for big minutes, is Jordan Selden. Charles Mitchell tries another one. This time he catches the front rim and is off the mark. Selden at the midcourt line, stripped away by Charles Mitchell. Mitchell dives on the ball, and the Beacons are going to call a timeout.
Oh.
Smart play there by Charles Mitchell, and actually it was his brother Charlie who was calling for the timeout, immediately seeing Charles on the ground with two Regis players swarming him.
Yeah, that's smart basketball right there. You work hard for that turnover. You get it forced. You don't want to end up getting a call on the travel and then revert the ball back to the Pride. Smart play there by the Mitchell twins.
10:47 left. UMass Boston's led by as many as 9. They've had the upper hand for the last 6 or so minutes. Gigi, the one thing about this team is they're young. We've seen them struggle to put teams away, especially some of their better competition. What does UMass Boston need to do over these next 3 to 4 minutes to solidify this lead, if not extend it?
You gotta play where it works. You see Charles Mitchell's three-pointers are on point. You got Dan Powers back in the game. Kevin Lewis Jean with his little hook. You got to look for the players that are starting to get a little hot and just, keep feeding them the ball. They'll score.
It all starts with the playmaker, Ty Lee. Great dish from Powers to find Lewis Jean. Those two players played together 2 years ago with UMass Boston. Lewis Jean, not a member of the program a season ago. Both guys are seniors looking for a big non-conference win. Another turnover forced by the Mitchell twins. Charlie ahead for Charles. Another right-hand lay-in, and the lead is as large as it's been today, 61-51 in favor of the home team.
And that's exactly what you need from the Beacons. And as we see, Charlie Mitchell just got taken down there. And
inadvertent play there by Wiederburn, who knocked Charlie Mitchell down, catches it on the other side, and has a chance for the end one there with Kevin Lewis Jean accepting fault for that easy bucket in transition.
But going back to that other play, sorry to cut you off there, Seth, but that's just momentum there that you get from the Beacons. The Charlie Mitchell gets that steal, gives it off to Charles. That's momentum that you need. That 10-point lead is in the biggest of the day. That's something that gets the Beacons bench and gets the crowd a little fired up.
Still interesting right now as Regis will bring in yet another player, Josh Germain, the first time we've seen the sophomore guard out of Pembroke Pines, Florida. He's one of a number of players out of Charles W. Flanagan High School. Right now for Regis, down by 8 points with 10 to go. They don't have Adamola Afonso, who's been their most effective player out there. They don't have Tim Broom. They don't have their leading scorer, Roger Hamill, as Powers knocks down another jumper. how long is Nate Hager going to wait to bring back some of his starters who might be tired after playing 85 minutes of basketball on Saturday and Sunday?
I mean, I don't blame Hager for, sitting his guys a little bit. This is a non-conference game. It doesn't mean as much as it would for a conference game, which the Pride do. That is their next game. It's a conference game. So I can see him being a little smart in that aspect. But with the game that the Pride had so close, you wonder if you kind of want to get that extra W to get yourself into 500 throughout the season. Charlie
Mitchell off the mark, but Ty Lee backs up his former high school teammate by stripping it out of the hands of Julio Goulet. Mike Board only has 2 today. Almost had his 3rd and 4th points, but it just rimmed out. Still tons of time left, 9-10 to go, and there's some of those starters heading back to the scorers table for Regis down 10. Wiederburn is going to have another and one. Love to see a replay of that. Where was the foul?
I think it might have been on Kevin Lewis-Jean. It might have been a hand check.
They're going to call that one on Charlie Mitchell. We'll see if we can get that highlight to you soon. It was a great move by Wiederburn. But when the whistle blew, I was almost expecting a travel as Wiederburn was spinning and moving around. He's got a chance for yet another and one as he was able to record one 2 possessions ago. This time he actually finishes it. That's the 3rd foul on Charlie Mitchell, first player for either side with 3 fouls. For UMass Boston, they'll bring James Hawkins Jr. back in there for Lewis-Jean. Isaac Barnes looks like he might be checking in shortly. It's Boyd working on Hamill, loses the dribble. Hamill back in there with Wiederburn, along with Brom, and Afonja, who's able to get a clean block there on Powers.
Yeah, you could tell Dan Powers wanted that foul, but I agree with the refs there. Didn't look like there was any contact.
Broom for Hamill, who's the team's leading scorer and leading playmaker. He's yet to score today. And we've got a blocking foul on Hawkins Jr. That's now 7 on the Beacons with 8:30 left, and that should lead to the 1-and-1. Right now we'll take a look at that Wiederburn and one from the last possession. Still a little confused where the contact is, and maybe it's the left hand of Charlie Mitchell. Did not look like all that much. Did you see contact from Powers? And maybe he caught him on the elbow. That's the most likely situation. Wiederburn, who's already been to the line several times here in half number 2, heads to the line for the first 1-and-1 of the game.
Well, with the Beacons got a 7-point lead here, and you hate to see them foul this much because with a lead this big, the Pride can easily come back in heading over the foul line.
Still a lot of time left on the clock, but the one thing that fouling does is it stops the clock and gives a chance for the other team to score. Lee hard to the basket. That's going to be a goaltender as Afonja grabbed the backboard or the rim on the way up, and we've got a little bit of jawing between the two teams. Not sure if this is going to lead to any kind of call, but Jason Harris was not happy.
We'll see Adamola Afonja there limping a little bit after going up there, and that's one of the things where being so athletic, you want to get that board, you want to get that rebound, and in turn it goes to goaltending, but you see him might be a little shook up after that one.
So both teams were just issued fouls. It was Broom and Hawkins who were getting into it, and both players have been issued a foul. Not sure if it was a technical or a personal, but either way, it's the second on Hawkins and the second on Broom. Broom now against the Beacons, 3/4 court press. First time we've seen it today. Afonja the catch just shy of the half-court line. Powers has to drop back. Kicked over for Broom, who does have 2 threes today, the only ones for Regis, and then a wonderful finish from Wiederburn, who was able to stay up in the air and then finish underneath.
I think that was actually Juven Stalger on that one.
You're right, 13 instead of 23, excuse me. Powers back for Lee, a pass-first point guard who just has a calming effect on this team. Great feed from Hawkins to find Boyd. He's got 4, and the Beacons lead is back to 9.
Heck, that's something you don't see very often from Michael Boyd there, but you love to see it. Very refreshing from the Beacons.
It's Hamill still scoreless and loses the ball. It's going to be out on the Beacons. Lee must have got a hand in there. But very strange to see the very talented senior guard out of Huntington Beach, California, still scoreless. Came in with 10.3 points per game, tops on the team. He'd reached double digits in 4 of their first 9. And right now he's sitting with a big 0 next to his name. 9-point Beacons lead, 7:24 to play. We'll take a commercial. We'll be right back here on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
Division III allows you to give yourself to other things.
Having that free time allows me to pursue the things that I want to pursue.
Division III athletics affords students the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport.
It allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
67-58 with 7:24 to play. 8 fouls on the Beacons, so we will see Regis shoot free throws the rest of the way. Just 4 on a Regis team that ranks in the top 70 in the country and fewest fouls allowed. Now the good news is that neither team really has anyone in foul trouble. A couple players with 2. Charlie Mitchell does have 3 currently on the bench. But foul trouble should not decide it in terms of individual players. For UMass Boston, it's Powers, Hawkins, Boyd, Charles Mitchell, and Ty Lee. For Regis, inbounding Josh Germain, who did not see time in that first half, out there with Hamill. Broom, who attempts the 3, too strong. Germain fighting for the rebound along with Powers and Afanja. Powers collects it. The other players out there for Regis are Dalger and Afanja, who's able to grab the rebound, or the steal. What a pass from Hamill, but Afanja can't make the catch. And Afanja is screaming at Hamill to just finish it, but it looks like Roger Hamill's a guy who has a little bit of flair to his game, and today it just hasn't quite worked.
I also think that Afanja's pass was a little bit, he didn't lead Hamill very well to the basket.
There's a 2-on-1 chance, and the Beacons fortunate to not give up points. Lee for Boyd, trying to extend this out to 12, and Powers taps it out of bounds. What a difference Dan Powers makes today. Statistically, I don't think his numbers are going to jump off the page, but he's played well over 20 minutes, and he's the guy, along with Dason Sedeli, who's been able to rebound with and fight down low with these Regis bigs.
Yeah, he's that role player. He's that guy that you look to lead the team, get them going a little bit. He can, when you need him the most, he can produce on the offensive end. He can produce on the defensive end. He's a great all-around player.
Charles Mitchell badgering the ball there. He's already had a couple of steals well away from the basket. Hamill around his screen. A lot of stutter stepping, but nothing doing. Broom can shoot from there. Afanja being closed out nicely by Powers. Broom thought about it, drives. 2 Beacons there, blocked from behind by Powers. It's out of bounds with 1 on the shot clock. Shot clock just was reset to 30. There should be 1 second left. There's no way that hit the shot clock. They're going to put 1 on the clock. So at this point, Gigi, your only option is really, now they're going to say 2. So that gives you a little bit more. But you either have to have a quick catch and shoot, or potentially throw a lob for Afanja. We've already seen that work once today. And now interesting that Regis is going to bring out big Dex Gianti, the sophomore, 6'5", 225, maybe to screen, maybe to roll the hoop.
Hey, if you're shooting, you're either looking for Hamill or for Broom.
The throw is to Gianti over Hawkins. He's short, and the Beacons get the rebound off the nicely executed play by Regis. They just couldn't finish. You can see why it was Gianti, 6'5", 205. He was easily able to clear out space against Hawkins. 17 on the shot clock, 6:12 to go in the game. The Beacons lead by 9. Their largest lead was 10. Boyd, a lot of fancy dribbling over for Mitchell. Already has 23 in this one. Lee looks to drive against Broom. He's swatted. Ball's loose, and Afanja the rebound, but UMass Boston had numbers back. Broom looking to drive. He's very effective there. Powers slowed him down, and it'll be called for the reach-in. That's one of those fouls that kind of don't mind. You see it a lot in basketball, soccer, even lacrosse, where you're slowing down the play, willing to give up the foul to avoid possibly giving up an easy basket.
And when you get a guy like Dan Powers, who's a little bit out of shape, it's a little bit harder for him to keep up with other guys. That is unfortunate to see, but at the same time, you got Powers now with 3 fouls. A lot of times last year we saw him foul out. Definitely something you don't want to see happen in this game because they need him.
Tim Broom on the year as he knocks down his first free throw, the best free throw shooter on the team. So that's the guy you don't want to give the foul to. He's down 24 of 30 at 80% as Lewis Jean will replace Hawkins. And, I had a pregame talk with Dan. Occasionally I can be harsh towards him. What we're focusing right now is the fact that Dan is getting better and better shape with each practice, each game. And honestly, he's looked pretty spry for a guy who has not played a game minute prior to today. So there's a chance for Regis to make it a 3-point play. And what a job by Dan Powers drawing the charge there just outside the circle, as that'll give the ball back to the Beacons.
I mentioned it in the first half. In the first half, none of the Beacons were willing to step in, take the charge, get big in the zone. And you get Dan Powers there just stepping up, and that's something that you want to see from the Beacons over and over.
I think it was Selden there who was whistled for the charge. That is so huge, giving up the body. And one of the nice things about not having played a game or not practicing all first semester is maybe you have a few less bumps and bruises, a little less wear and tear, especially for a guy who mentioned it. Dan Powers is a senior, but also he's a little bit older. He took a couple of years off between Endicott and UMass Boston, so he's probably closer to his mid-20s than his early 20s. And we've got a rare foul on Regis there. Afanja guarding the ball against Lee. That's his third. Nope, that's the third on Broom. Fanja was there as well, and just the 6th on Regis. So the next foul on the Pride will lead to the 1-and-1.
You see both teams having that three-quarter court press, and this is where the Beacons need to excel a little bit. They need to start pushing the ball, start breaking down their defense a little bit, and that's exactly what Ty Lee does right there.
Lee just abuses Josh Germain there, one sophomore versus another, slowed it down and then accelerated to the hoop. It's a 10-point Beacons lead with 5 minutes and 19 seconds left. Good drive here, and able to finish against the contact is Joe Instalger. It's a nice little player out of Oakland Park, Florida.
Wow, I honestly did not think that shot was anywhere near close to going in.
Lee takes a tumble but holds on to the ball. Powers down low for an open Lewis Jean. Blocked from behind by Germain. Nice play from Josh Germain after not playing great defense the last drive. Able to keep this at an 8-point game.
I don't know if I agree with that. I thought he got a little contact on that.
Well, it's good defense if you don't get called, and it's not as great defense if you do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the refs call what they see, and you can't really argue with it sometimes.
8 seconds to go. It's Afanja over Powers, able to get the first block. Afanja collects, throws it up off the mark, fighting for the rebound. Afanja uses those long arms, and now he's fouled on the floor. The N1 will not count, and Jason Harris is just pleading from about 60 feet away. Where was the over the back there against a pair of Beacons who were a little bit smaller? Afanja was just getting his way down low.
There are just so many things to say about that play. Afanja just got 3 offensive rebounds on one play right there. It was him against 2 guys. Dan Powers lucky that foul wasn't called on him. It would have been his 4th. Instead, they give it to Lewis Jean, but that's just the athleticism that you see from Adamola. It's incredible.
Adamola to the line for 2. Remember, just under a 50% free throw shooter. Knocks down the first. He does have a good-looking stroke. Adamola now with 19 points and 10 rebounds. Shooting a very efficient 8 of 11 in just 18 minutes of action. I think big reason why the Beacons have been so successful in this game is because Regis has shown more fatigue than the Beacons have. UMass Boston hadn't played in 19 days. Regis, their 3rd game in 4. Afanja knocks down both. He's up to 50% on the year, and this is a difficult spot for Lee double team. Tries to find Powers off the foot of a Regis player, and Afanja makes it 4 points in a matter of seconds. It's down to a 4-point Beacons lead.
And that's exactly what the Pride wanted to do. Very well executed. See the Beacons here try to break the press.
Lee able to find Boyd now. Powers trying to go all the way with the left hand. Only Dan Powers can make that shot. He's practiced it so many times, and he looks like a freight train heading to the basket, but able to finish with finesse.
Kind of wonder to see if the Beacons will go into a full court press against, this tired Regis team, as you said, that they've played their 3rd game within 4 days.
2-possession game, media timeout, the next whistle. Powers another rebound. He has been a man amongst boys today for UMass Boston, a big reason why they hold on to this 6-point lead. Still 3:33 to go. Can UMass Boston open 2018 with a win? Powers from straight away too strong, and the rebound into the hands of Hamill, still looking to get his offensive game going. Hamill being badgered by Charles Mitchell. He'll finally drop off, and Hamill will set it up with 20 on the shot clock. It's around his screen. Now he keeps going, kicks it out wide open. Selden from the corner. He's too strong, and Lewis Jean rips down the rebound.
And with 3 minutes left in the game, it's a 6-point lead. You kind of wonder here if you're Coach Harris, do you slow the game down a little bit, or do you try to press up a little bit and try to get a couple more points?
We've seen UMass Boston try to slow it down too early in games. I think the 3-minute mark, you're a little bit closer as Boyd fights for the rebound, and the foul will go against Michael. He was working against the bigger, longer Selden, and he's going to be called for the loose ball foul. It's not going to lead to free throws, but it will lead to immediate timeout and Regis ball after the break. 2:49 to go. Last year this game went to overtime. Does Regis have a comeback in them? Find out after this commercial break.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and I know how powerful words can be. The term gay doesn't mean stupid, lame, or less than.
So I pledge to speak up if I hear the term gay used in a derogatory way or any other homophobic terms.
If you can play in Division III.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and my teammates unconditionally accepted me as part of their family. So now I pledge to do the same for others. If you can play in Division III.
(71-65) with 2:49 to play. The Beacons already have allowed Regis to get into the double bonus. UMass Boston, next foul that they draw will send them to the line for the 1-and-1. My name is Seth Dorensky, joined by Gigi Braga. 2:49 to go. Gigi, still a long time left in a two-possession game. You're UMass Boston. What's your biggest key here to closing out the Regis College Pride?
Stop Ademola Afanja. He has been their best offensive producer. He's back out there on the court right now. They're going to look for him. They're going to look for him. They're going to look for Selden, who's a bigger guy. You know, you got to stop Broom a little bit on the offensive end, but the main concern is Afanja.
Afanja, 22 points, 10 rebounds, 9 of 12 shooting, and a very surprising 4 of 5 from the free throw line for a guy who came in at 9 of 19. Beacons in some full court pressure. They'll have two guys up top and Ty Lee right at the half-court line. Broom throws it ahead, dangerous pass, and Afanja able to find Selden. 20 on the shot clock. Beacon still pressuring the ball. It's Sinelli, Barnes, Charles Mitchell, Ty Lee, and Powers. We haven't seen Iser Barnes pretty much the entire second half, and Sinelli's been sitting as well. Interesting move there by the Beacons. 7 on the shot clock. Selden looking to go to work, has a wide open Hamill. Can he finally find the score sheet? Yes. Drains the three. Good time to get him going, and it's a 3-point game with 2:15 to play.
Yeah, you beat me to it. I was going to say, what a time to get this guy going. Leading scorer for the Pride right now. He's one of their most decent three-point shooters. Can't let him get hot right now.
Not a three-point shooting team particularly. Lee tries to find Sinelli cutting the basket, over contact, and the rebound is going to end up in the hands of Regis, and it's going to be a foul on Powers, his fourth, as he held on to the arm there of Joens Dowger. And that's going to lead to Dowger taking a pair with a chance to cut this to a 3-point game as James Hawkins Jr., another one of those senior bigs for the Beacons. They now have 4 seniors on the roster. 3 of them are bigs. Good for a UMass Boston team that doesn't have too many of them. And Dowger, who's 10 of 17 from the free throw line, will head to the line for a pair.
This game's going to come down. Sorry to cut you off again. This game's going to come down to, who can hit their free throws. And I know this hasn't been a big three-point free throw shooting game, but still, this is free money. It's an easy basket here. You got to hit him.
Short on the first as Hawkins replaces Sinelli. The Beacons are 0 for 2 from the free throw line here in the second half. Regis going 1 of 2 on that particular possession. They're now 8 of 12. They've gone 6 of 10 here in the second half. Not particularly good, but certainly better than a 0% mark. Hawkins the handoff for Charles Mitchell. He's had the hot hand in this one, especially from distance. Powers, a contested 2. He's fouled by Afanja. That should be the third on Afanja. And the question is, are they giving him 2 or 3? They correctly do give just the 2, as Afanja was going down the other way. Very upset with that personal foul.
Yeah, I don't know if he can get that back or anything, but he really thought that he didn't get any of the ball. And by the trajectory that Powers' shot did, honestly, I don't know. He might have just gotten all ball on that one. Powers doing a good job selling that.
Powers will head to the line for 2. 71.7% free throw shooter. Knocks down the first. But, Gigi, this is where tired legs could come into effect as Charlie Mitchell replaces Ty Lee. Guy who didn't play all first semester. Typically you see it in the shot, especially from the free throw line.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's got to, get in his groove a little bit, kind of find it. He's got some tape around his thumb, which I don't know if that has anything to do with anything. But, you see Powers there getting his shots off.
2 of 2 from the line, pushes the lead back to 4 with 95 seconds to play. Regis led for almost the entire first half. The Beacons did not lead in that first half. UMass Boston has led for the last 14-plus minutes as Regis has not held a lead with the exception of the first 2 possessions here in the second half. Strong drive off the mark is Selden. The ball goes out of bounds off the Beacons. Caught the back heel of James Hawkins Jr., who's asking for a replay like you'd watch in the NBA, but fortunately Division III, that's not mandated within the last 2 minutes or at all.
If only we had the budget for that, huh?
Well, it would also have to be an NCAA mandated thing as well, as Sinelli will place Charles Mitchell. The Beacons going big right now. This is the biggest they've been all season long, with Dason Sinelli playing the 3. Selden over Barnes. The rebound's tapped up, and it's Hawkins who will grab it, and the Beacons smartly will slow it down rather than trying to push in transition.
Peculiar to see here that the Pride aren't fouling. You know, if I'm the Pride and you got a guy like Charles Mitchell on the ball who's not the greatest free throw shooters, I would have fouled him immediately.
Yeah, the question right now is, do you keep him out there if you're Jason Harris? You know what kind of special player he is, both as a scorer and as an on-ball defender, but can you risk that sub 44% free throw shooting mark in a 4-point game? We'll find out after this Beacons timeout. 58.7 seconds left. So you've already mentioned that you want to foul. It's a 4-point game. You've already let 14 seconds go off the shot clock. So it looks like Lee and Michael Boyd will check in for UMass Boston. Do you still think you foul after giving up almost half this shot clock? It's only a 2-possession game at this point rather than a 7-8 point lead.
Yeah, but you're getting the ball at half court, and that's just 16 seconds from the ball from half court. That's a long time. And you see the Beacons going a little bit bigger than they normally would. I think they might be keeping Charles Mitchell out there, but if I'm the Pride, as soon as he touches the ball, you got to foul him.
Well, Mitchell will be the inbounder, so they can't foul him initially. Out there with Powers, Lewis Jean, Boyd, and Ty Lee. The other 4 guys are all very good free throw shooters. It's Lewis Jean, the handoff for Lee, and he'll man the point here with 11 left on the shot clock, 53 to go in the game. Lee with a couple of screening options. Lewis Jean wants the ball on the block. Working against Afanja up top for Powers with 2 on the shot clock. Loses it, and Afanja will grab it. Shot clock was going to go off otherwise. Out ahead of the pack is Hamels. Just hit a 3. Hits the underside of the rim. Jumping towards the ball is Hamel and Charles Mitchell, and it's going to be out of bounds on Regis because the back leg there of Hamel was out of bounds as he fought for the loose ball against Charles Mitchell.
I'll give that to him. That wasn't the easiest of layups to hit, but when you're one-on-one with a guy like that and it's a 4-point game, you have to hit that in transition. That would change the complete momentum of this game.
Hamel's coming off of a game against Trinity in which he had 16 points and 3 assists, and he has struggled tonight. 35.9 left. The Beacons are going to get the ball underneath their own basket since that timeout was called by Regis. You know that Regis is going to have to foul if they don't get the initial steal. Who are you looking for to get this ball on the inbounds? And then maybe who are you hoping, if you're a UMass Boston fan, to have head to the line?
You're trying to get Sinelli. He's probably your best free throw shooter right now.
Doesn't look like he's going to be out there, though.
He's not out there, so right now I would give it to, I was going to say Dan Powers, but he's inbounding the ball, so definitely be interesting to see who they're going to give it off to. Maybe Mike Boyd.
Powers on the inbound, 4 across for UMass Boston from left to right. Lee, Boyd, Charles Mitchell, and Lewis Jean, who's a very good free throw shooter. It's into Ty Lee. Lee will give it off to the near side for Boyd, and Charles Mitchell is going to be the only player in the front court. Now he'll catch it, needs to get rid of it, finds Kevin Lewis Jean. Regis is going to give up the foul, but they missed their chance, Gigi, to foul the only sub 60% free throw shooter out there.
I can't believe that they waited 10-plus seconds to get a foul off. You got to risk it at that point. You have to risk him hitting 1 or 2 shots. It's better than giving him that easy layup, or even if you got Charles Mitchell out there, an easy 3-pointer.
Hamel, the team's best 3-point shooter, is out there with Jordan Selden, who's also a 32% free throw shooter, as they replace Julio Goulet and Josh Germain. It'll be 2 free throws for Kevin Lewis Jean. Boyd heads to the bench with Charlie Mitchell replacing him. Lewis Jean, a very good free throw shooter. It's actually just the 1-and-1. That was only foul number 8.
7 of 8 from the free throw line.
And remember, a 69% shooter coming in. Kevin Lewis-Jean did not play last year, but he was constantly in the gym working on his shot, and it's shown as he knocks down both, and it's out to a 6-point lead with 24.7 seconds left, with Hawkins replacing Lewis-Jean. Pressuring the ball there is Charles Mitchell on Broom. Wide open Hamill looking for his second three of the half. Knocks it down. It's back to a one-possession game. And Regis will call another timeout. That's the guy that you know they're looking for on threes, and yet he was wide open.
Yeah, that's miscommunication, or that's just bad defense by the Beacons on that one. Because you got a guy like Hamill, he hasn't been too hot tonight, but he hit that first three about 2 to 3 minutes ago, and you got to get a guy who's shooting around 40% from the three-point line. You can't have him give up that easy basket, especially if you have a 6-point lead. Cut it down to 3 now. It's only been a one-possession game. We're going to try to get that for you right now, and it looks to me, just on first glance, as if the Beacons may have been guilty of going for the steal there, and that's that rookie mistake, because 2 hurts you a lot less in that situation than 3. Yeah, and if you're there's no shot clock left. If you're the Beacons, you kind of just got to play some lockdown D for about 25 seconds that they're had over there. You can't give up those easy baskets. We'll try to bring it to you right now with Kevin Lewis-Jean checking back in for presumably Hawkins. We'll see if we do have it for you. As you see here, it's Charlie Mitchell swiping at it. Charles Mitchell immediately reacts to the wide open Hamill. I think that's on Charlie. It was Charles Mitchell guarding the ball, working against Tim Broom. And Charlie, you love the defensive intensity, but at some point you have to stay home, especially against Hamill, the top 3-point shooter and scorer for Regis this year. Yeah, you saw Charles Mitchell right there. He didn't even try to contest the shot. He just looked at the basket to see when Hamill was going to throw it up. Boyd finds Powers, immediately double teamed in the corner. Back for Boyd, who nearly lost it. Boyd is still double teamed with 13 left. The Beacons have to get this across in 10, and we're going to get a timeout UMass Boston. Jason Harris was probably hoping for that a little bit earlier. 10.8 seconds left. And now the question right now is, how long do the Beacons have to get this across the half-court line, although the timeout may bring it across and avoid that issue. We'll see where they spot this ball, because that's the biggest thing right now. There's not a shot clock on, but you still have the 10-second violation to get it across half-court. Yeah, that was probably a good, 5 seconds right there, so you wonder where they're going to start the ball, and I'm pretty sure that's what Coach Jamie's over there is asking the refs. We're going to take a look on replay and just try to get a sense of how much time was left on the clock before this play started on the inbound. There's 10.8 seconds left right now. The 3 referees are still huddled up discussing it. The ball is going to come underneath the Beacons hoop, so they're only going to have certain few seconds. The ball was inbounded. We try to get 19. The ball was inbounded with 19 at 19.0. So that means already 8.2 seconds have eclipsed. Now, this is bad on me, but the 10-second call may reset here. So that could also be a reason why the timeout was called. But right now, 10.8 seconds left. Beacons need to get the ball in first and foremost. They find Boyd, so the 10-second call must have elapsed. The Beacons get it over for Charles Mitchell, who's fouled, and then a late hack there from Tim Broom on the second effort. A little contentious there from Broom, who was just trying to make sure that the foul was called. What I'm confused here is, if you're the Pride, why not foul? I understand why you're fouling, Mitchell, but if you got the ball right there, why don't you save yourself 5 seconds and foul Boyd? And I don't know if that's what they were trying to do, and maybe the refs just didn't see. But when you got 3 guys around him, I don't know if they were just putting their hands up to try to get him
trying to get that tie up, but they just took maybe a little bit too long. 5.7 seconds left. The issue is, this is the 9th foul. If Mitchell misses the front end, Regis will have a chance to tie it at the buzzer, just like they did on Saturday against Trinity. It was a 3 at the buzzer to force overtime. That time it was Broom. Broom's going to look to do it again over the hand of Sinelli, off the mark, and the Beacons survive. UMass Boston led by as many as 10. In the end, it was a contested 3 just off the mark by Tim Broom, and for the second straight game, Regis falls just short at the buzzer. It was overtime against Trinity this time around. It was a late look from Broom, just off the mark. So we will take a commercial break, and then we'll head down low to interview Jason Harris after the Beacons' second consecutive win.
My name is Kirsten Morrison, aka Keeks. I'm a senior here at UMass. I'm in the Exercise Health Sciences program, and I play volleyball, basketball, and softball. You know, I came here for volleyball, and I chose between basketball and softball, and I went with basketball my freshman year to play, and it's always kind of been a thing that I wanted to do is play softball my senior year. And after talking with Coach Dagg, she was like, yeah, come on the team, and I was like, all right, and here I am playing 3 sports this year. Being a Beacon, I don't even know if words can describe. You know, coming here as a freshman, I was a little nervous and scared, but you know, I walked in these doors and they all had open arms. You know, they showed me the ropes. You know, the coaching staff, the athletic staff, the chancellor, the vice chancellors, everyone here is so welcoming, and I really can't stress enough about how much this is really a second family for me here at UMass. I'm at my 1,000 points this year. It's amazing. I don't even think words can describe how I feel about it. It's something I've always wanted to do my whole life, and doing it here with my teammates and the coaching staff here is just an unbelievable experience, and I'm so happy to be able to do that. I'm doing my internship this summer at the Quincy YMCA, and I really hope to be coaching in my future.
Joined by head coach Jason Harris. Coach, first off, Happy New Year. I think we can focus a little bit on that now. Coach, 3 guys who weren't available at the end of 2017 all made huge impacts today. How much did it help to have Charlie Mitchell, Kevin Lewis-Jean, and Dan Powers against a Regis team who's clearly long, clearly athletic, and clearly pretty good?
You know, that was a really long question, Seth, and it's been a really, long couple weeks here since we're back. But the short of it, I think it is, again, with the depth like we talked about earlier and the ability to play multiple different ways. You know, Dan, that's Dan Powers, Didn't necessarily play great, but he competed. He was super physical. Got some big rebounds, and he, comes up with big plays. So, it was a group effort tonight. Like you said, Charlie, again, we have 10 guys that we're 11 guys that we're really excited about right now at any given time, and sometimes there's going to be guys that don't play a lot, and it's going to be on them to figure it out. We're just going to play the guys that we feel like are giving us the best chance to win. I know that's not really the answer you want, but it's a lot. It's a long question. There's a lot going on.
You wanted more energy and grit after your team fell behind by 10 points. Is that the biggest reason you think you had success in the second half when you were able to take that first lead and never give it back?
Yeah, our intensity notched up a little bit. We made some shots, which helped. But I thought guys played really unselfish. I mean, we had guys turning down shots and almost kind of deferring to Dan a little bit, which is weird because he kind of just showed up. But, I think that shows the respect that the young guys have for him. And, again, it was our unselfishness on offense, and it was just our willingness to compete on defense. Hawk, Kevin, Dan, all those guys, Dason, even some of the guards. Ice did a good job. It was just an overall team effort tonight.
I think a big part of this was you thinking it out, but 6 wins now at home, just 1 on the road. You haven't played many games there. 5 of your next 6 on the road. How big are back-to-back home wins for going onto the road with some confidence?
The last 2 games mean absolutely nothing, Seth, going forward. I keep thinking about, our last time we went on the road in league, which was Keene State. That was an embarrassment for the program. And then I look at us going on the road against Suffolk, and it was also an embarrassment with our effort and our focus. So, when you're an immature team and, we're trying to figure it out, so many new faces, man. Every game frightens me, Seth. Every game frightens me. Depends on which Beacons are going to show up. And, when the ones that play hard show up, I like our chances against anybody.
Well, Coach, you've got a couple days to prepare for the snow and Bridgewater State. Hopefully you get them in the rematch from first semester.
Thank you, Seth.
He's never happy. Maybe if he wins a national championship, he'll finally be happy with his team's performance. Right now, we'll head back up top, look at the highlights from half number 2, and then bring you the final numbers here on the Beacons Broadcast Network postgame show. Picking up the loose ball with 24 on the shot clock. Powers for the tie. Dan Powers, his first 3 of his second senior in his return from an injury that kept him out for most of December. Afanja, another As it's Hawkins, hands it off for Powers, able to finish with the left hand for Boyd on just his third field goal attempt. Broom trying to answer, deep three. He's hit 2 of those today from well behind the three-point line. Charles Mitchell from the corner, 3 in transition. He's got...
He's going off for a couple points.
Bad turnover there by Wiederburn. All ahead of the pack is Charles Mitchell, and an easy lay-in for the non-conference win. Another turnover forced by the Mitchell twins. Charlie ahead for Charles. Another right-hand lay-in, and the lead is as large as it's been. Scores table for Regis down 10. Wiederburn is going to have another today. So there's a chance for Regis to make it a three-point play, and what a job.
I'm the first undergraduate alumnus to lead this university. I'm very proud of that. I was literally able to transform my life because of the University of Massachusetts, and I want that for every single student that walks through the door.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
Cheer for the stumbles. The he shoulda had that's. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
We just heard from Jason Harris, and then we saw the highlights. And Gigi, I love the fact that Jason Harris, he could go out on Thursday and beat Bridgewater State, a team that already beat them first semester. He could beat Eastern Connecticut State, the top team in the LEC, on Saturday. And he'll say some positive things about his team, but there's always more to work on. There's always things to improve, and he's never going to be fully happy with his team because it's bigger goals than just winning a non-conference game or even winning a regular season conference game.
Yeah, he's a humble guy. He gives credit where it's due. He knows what his players are capable of. But at the same time, the Beacons are a young team. You know, they got a lot to work on. They have a couple of seniors, and he's going to push them to their limit. He's going to push them to beat, Eastern Connecticut, the top team in the LEC that are played out to win playoffs. And he's gonna push them to their limit. Nothing wrong with that.
With the win, UMass Boston improves to 7-5, two-game winning streak. Regis has now lost 2 in a row after losing another tight one to Trinity on the 31st. I have no idea what day of the week it was. It's winter break. It's tougher to remember. But I know it was on the 31st, whether that was Saturday or Sunday.
Sunday.
Regis is now 0-5 on the road. UMass Boston improves to, I believe they're now 6-3. So the majority of their wins. Taking a look at it, UMass Boston shot 40% in the first half. They improved. Regis, though, down 9 percentage points in the second half. The Beacons cooled down a bit from distance, but did finish 9 of 23 compared to just 4 of 13 for Regis. The rebounds much closer than we expected. The turnovers a little bit more of what we expected, as the UMass Boston Beacons did a phenomenal job limiting the turnovers in that second half.
The Pride players, there was only 1 in rebounds with double digits, and it was Afonso with 11 there. The second closest player was Dalger with 6. So that's why we see the rebounds being a little bit closer there. You got big guys like Powers and Sinelli who did step up for the Beacons on that point. And turnovers, that's just something that, we expected to see. The Beacons had 7 turnovers in the first half, and they were limited to only 4 in the second half. That's definitely something I'm sure Coach Harris harped on during halftime. It's great to see that they executed it here.
Remember, coming in, Regis, a top 50 team in the country in rebounding margin. UMass Boston, bottom 50. Regis, though, bottom 50 in the country in turnover margin. UMass Boston, top 50. In the end, the Beacons get the better end of their strength versus Regis' strength. We'll look at the team leaders. Charles Mitchell, the 2-time Rookie of the Week in the LAC, just continues to excel. But while Mitchell had a great game, as did Afanja, I would say it was the Beacons' role players who made a bigger impact in this one, and the biggest difference of why this was a Beacons 3-point win versus the other way around.
You love to see Kevin Lewis-Jean, coming off of an injury, first game in 2018, goes off for 16 points. He was a big presence down low, getting a couple stops on the defensive end, getting a couple rebounds, producing on the offensive end. That's what you wanted to see out of him today in his first game back in 2018. And then you get Dan Powers with, leading the team in rebounds with 9 rebounds. And as Coach Harris said, he's a big guy. He's giving them what they want, get him in a little bit of better shape, and he's going to kill it this year.
Powers, 14 points, 9 rebounds in 24 minutes, an efficient 5 of 9 from the field. Not too bad for a guy who had not seen the court until the end of first semester in practice. This was his first game action. Right now, we'll take a quick look ahead for UMass Boston. This was supposed to be a 3-game week. It still might be. We have no idea quite how strong the snow will come and hit the eastern portion of the state. Bridgewater State, of course, down a little bit farther south of Boston, but still on the eastern half of Massachusetts, where we're supposed to see up to a foot on Thursday. Then Eastern Connecticut State, we'll see them on Saturday. That's a 3 p.m. game. And then on the 10th, that's next Wednesday, UMass Boston will head to Plymouth State. It's going to be an exciting time for this group, and it's good that they're healthy, as they're going to play a lot of games in a short span here in January.
And that's something that, the Beacons playing their game today here in non-conference against Regis, and they might have a shot of playing Bridgewater again. But then they go on this, streak of conference games for the next couple of weeks, and that's just something that's, both good and bad. You got to get the kinks out in these non-conference games, and then they just can't. They can't afford to lose anything, especially against Eastern Connecticut, the top team to win playoffs this year in the LEC, and that's just going to be a big test for them.
Right now, we'll take a moment to give a shout-out to our production crew. First broadcast of 2018. Had a few small hiccups early on, mostly on my part, but I think we did a pretty good job overall. My name's Seth Orensky, joined by Gigi Braga on the broadcast, alongside Anthony Searles, Alyssa Fujo, and Carly Robinson up top, Roxanne Vento, Cassidy Gaeta, and a big shout-out to Cassie Murphy, who manned our up-top camera in the elements to do a great job. So that'll do it for us from the Clark. UMass Boston 75, Regis 72, as the Beacons earn a win in their 2018 opener.
Yeet.